welcome to Chris Cook for You too. Happy birthday, Jada. One of my viewers came to me and requested this recipe, and while I have a long line of requests from a lot of people, I chose to do this one today simply because it was her birthday and it was kind of special to her, and she's all the way in Hawaii, and I can't send this cake to her, but she asked me if I would bake it. Now this is a very, very old school recipe. It's so far back in the archives until they weren't making frosting at that time. They were doing it strictly by hand because they didn't have the fluffier frosting, so you had to just make it. And if you ever came into your grandmother's kitchen or your mom's kitchen, you would see this yellow cake but chocolate frosting on the outside. Now it was never fluffy. It was always more of a ganache type. It was more of a runny type cake frosting. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to make a yellow cake, and it's going to have chocolate frosting, but it's old school, and for a lot of you this will bring back memories. For me, I know it does. I used to love to go to my grandmother's house during the holiday season, where she would have all of the cakes and pies lined up on the table, and this was definitely one that I would always see there. So let's get started with the ingredients that you're going to need to make this delicious old school cake. You're going to need sugar, baking soda, baking powder. You're going to need cake flour. Now, if you don't have cake flour, no worries. Just take some regular all-purpose flour, mix some cornstarch with it, a tablespoon of cornstarch, sift it a couple of times, and you got cake flour. You're going to need vanilla extract, salt, sour cream, butter, and you're going to need eggs. Now you're going to use 3 whole eggs, and you're going to use 2 egg yolks. Don't throw away your egg whites. It'll always make a delicious omelet. So that's going to be 3 whole eggs, and it's going to be 2 of your egg yolks. Now your eggs as well as your butter needs to be room temperature. So make certain that both of these items are room temperature. Now we're going to get to the frosting. Frosting is real easy, because I told you way back in the day, we didn't have these fluffy cans of frosting. We just had frosting that you would just make yourself. So in order to make this, you're going to need condensed milk. I'm using Carnation condensed milk. This is not evaporated milk. This is condensed milk. That means it's a sweetened, thickier, pasty type milk. And you're going to need some unsweetened chocolate, and it's sold in your local grocery stores. It's just 1 brick. We're not going to use all of this, of unsweetened chocolate. And you're going to need some salt. Now this is going to be real easy to make. We're going to make this and make the cake. One other thing I want to show you is I'm using 10-inch cake pans. In my cake pans you see a piece of parchment paper. I have already sprayed my pan with some release. It's the flour and the butter type release, and then I put inside the parchment paper, and I spray the parchment paper as well. Now we're gonna go over to the mixer, get started with this cake. I'll meet you there. Alrighty, now I'm at the mixer, and I've already put in 1 stick of butter. That's all that the cake requires. 1 stick is 1/2 cup. And I'm going to start the mixer. Now shortly I'm going to add the sugar to that, because butter and sugar creams together very well. But while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and put my flour into this larger bowl. Adding to the flour, I'm going to go ahead and put in my baking powder. To that, I'm going to add the salt and the baking soda. Now that's really all of the dry ingredients minus the sugar. So I'm going to give this a little light stir. And I'm going to put this back here. Now I'm going to start to add in my sugar. And I'm going to add it like in fourths. That's a fourth of the sugar. I'll let that cream for a little while. Then I'll add a fourth more of the sugar. The sugar is 1 3/4 cups, so I'm just doing it a fourth at a time so it'll be well blended. I'll add a little more of the sugar. And then I'll add the last of the sugar. Now, while that sugar is blending together, I'm going to blend together or mix together my sour cream, which is 1/4 cup. And to the sour cream, I'm going to add the milk. And I have my milk sitting over here. That's a 1/2 cup. Now I'm going to mix this together. Now while I'm mixing this, I'm going to go ahead and start to add my eggs. Now I have 3 whole eggs and I have 2 egg yolks. One of my egg yolks split. It's okay, because it's going to split even worse than that when it get over inside of that mixer. So I'm going to go ahead and add my whole eggs first. And I'm going to add them one at a time, allowing them to cream with my butters of vanilla flavor. And as always, I'm going to do what I always do, which is put the measurements and the ingredients for this cake into the description box. Now, at this point, you would scrape down your bowl. I'm going to scrape down mine at a little bit later point. So now you're going to alternate with your flour, your dry ingredients, which you know that's my flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. You're going to alternate your dry ingredients with your wet ingredients, which is going to be your sour cream and your milk. So I'm going to go ahead and start to put that in. And use your judgment on, you know, just pouring a little bit of your milk and then putting in, or your milk mixture, and then putting in your dry ingredients. Just don't put it all in at once. So I'm doing like 2 heaping tablespoons. You can do more or less. Now you see exactly what I'm doing, because I have not left putting in these ingredients. So there's no way you can mess this cake up if you follow exactly what I'm doing. And the cake looks good. The batter looks good. I'm going to add a little bit more of my sour cream and milk mixture. some more of the batter or the dry ingredients. A little bit more of my wet mixture. Some more of the flour. Now, when you finish, the last ingredient you want to add is the wet mixture. So make certain that when you finish, and what I mean by that is your last ingredient to add, don't let it be your flour, let it be your wet mixture, which is your sour cream and your milk. Alrighty, now I'm going to add the last of this flour mixture. And I'm going to put in the last of my sour cream and milk. Now, before people start to write me about this, yeah, I know that I mixed it up into a sour cream bowl. It does not make a difference. Mix it up into whatever you have. Do I have a regular bowl? Of course I have a regular bowl. But I had just finished dumping out everything that was in the sour cream container, so why not just go ahead and use this bowl? Because people write me about some things that's not even related to whatever it is that I'm going to be cooking that day. And so I can just eliminate that conversation right there. Okay, now I'm going to stop this for a minute. And I'm going to use this smaller spatula, since this was the one that I was using, just to scrape down the sides and the bottom of my bowl. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to bring over my 2 cake pans, which I told you I've already floured and added the parchment paper to this, and I also put a little bit of the spray release on top of the parchment paper. Now I'm going to put half of the cake in this pan, and I'm going to put half of the cake in this pan. Now I'm eyeballing this, but I mean, I could do it because, as I tell you, I can do certain things in my sleep. Okay, now I have my oven preheating on 350 degrees. I'm going to cook this for roughly about 35 minutes. Before I take this out, if you don't have a spatula, invest in one. And I've said this before because it'll clean out your bowls so good. And I think the spatula is only about $2. Okay, now you want to spread it out. Now, this is just something that I do. I always back it a little bit out of the center. Reason why I do that is because you get a hump. Sometimes I get a hump anyway. And then I'm going to do this cake the same way. Take it out of the center just a little bit. I don't believe in throwing away anything. Alrighty, I'm going to bounce these pans a couple of times. That's just to release the bubbles on the side, so when you, or in the cake, you release those bubbles, because when you cut it, you don't want to see little bubble holes inside of your cake where it's empty spaces. Now, I'll put this in the oven, and once this gets ready, I'll bring you right back. Okay, I'm at the stove, and the cake has about another 10 minutes. I just wanted to come back and show you how to make the topping or the frosting for the cake. You're going to, on a medium-high heat, you're going to put in your can of condensed milk. And you can see how the condensed milk flows. It flows thicker than your evaporated milk. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people, I think it's just my younger cooks, will ask me, is there a difference in condensed milk and the evaporated milk? Condensed milk is primarily used for making desserts. And if you go into the store, just make certain that you read the label if you're not familiar with the product. Now, once you have cleaned all of it out of your can, then you can add your chocolate. Now, this is a brick of unsweetened chocolate, and this is what it looks like. Okay, each one of these, this is 4 ounces. 4 ounces is 1 ounce, 2 ounces, 3 ounces, and 4 ounces. Each one of these small brick pieces is a half of an ounce. So a half of an ounce, 1 ounce, half of an ounce, 2 ounces. That's what you're going to need. And you have the line there, and all you have to do is just break it. Now, what you want to do here is you want this chocolate to melt inside of your condensed milk. And that's all you want to do is just melt it. And I'm breaking mine up so it will be easier to melt. I didn't put this over there when I was telling you the ingredients, but you want to put a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and you want to put a pinch of salt. Okay, now this is going to need to cook so that my chocolate can dissolve for a little bit less than 10 minutes. And once it dissolves, then I'm just going to sit it on the back of the stove. Remember, this is unsweetened chocolate. I'm going to sit it on the back of the stove. I might just sit it on the side so that it can cool and I can frost the cake. Now, I told you that your old school cakes, there's nothing fluffy about it. Okay, they normally just have this little layer of chocolate on top of your cakes. It looks kind of like a ganache, but this is the way they made it back in the day. And some of them made it strictly with using cocoa, which is another way to make this. Now, once I take this off of the heat, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of water to this. But that's going to be it. Now, I just want to show you how to make this. So I'm going to allow, that's all the ingredients that you're going to put in this chocolate. You're going to let it come up to a little light boil, not much. That's all the ingredients you're going to put in this chocolate. You're only going to add 1/2 teaspoon of water. Again, your ingredients will be at the bottom. So I'm going to allow this to cool before I put it on my cake anyway. So, and when it cools, it's going to thicken up just a little bit. So that's going to be it. So I'll bring you back once I take the cakes out of the oven, just to show you what they look like, and then I'll go ahead and frost the cake. Be right back. Okay, now the cakes are ready. You can always stick your cake with a knife to make certain that they are that they're ready for you to frost. And if your knife comes back clean, then your cake is ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow these to cool for a while. And the frosting, I wanted to show you that as well. That's ready. See how it's trying to thicken up? Okay. So I'm going to allow all this to cool. And I'll bring you back when I get ready to frost it, or as soon as I do. But the cake, see how they came out? When you push them back a little bit, you normally won't have to worry about that crown that comes in the middle of the cake. So I'll bring you back when I get through. Be right back. I'm back, and I already cut the cake. I am so sorry. I meant to cut the cake in front of you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and cut off a slice. This is a cake that's been in my family for a while, and I do believe that if you try it, you're going to love it. Especially, it will bring back all of those old school memories that you have, because this is the way they did it way back in the day. So I'm just going to cut a slice of it so you can see exactly what this cake ended up looking like. And I'll turn it around so that you can see it. There you go. There's a piece of it. I'll take out the little center and eat that. There you go. It's light, it's fluffy, it's real good. I don't even remember my grandmother using a mixer, because I don't think she had one. I think she did everything by hand. But if you try this cake, you're truly going to enjoy it. I do want you to look at the glaze on top. I told you that it came out semi to a ganache. See how it looks kind of like a ganache on the top of it? Okay. This cake is very good. Okay. I want to tell you, first of all, happy birthday, Jada. I know that you're all the way in Hawaii, and I couldn't send you a slice of this cake, but I'm going to eat enough of it for you. I wish you a very happy birthday. And this is to all of my viewers. I have so many requests, so many different recipes that people will ask me about because of my childhood, and they want me to make them, and I try to get to as many of them as I possibly can. Stay with me. We'll finish them all out. Wanted to tell you one thing about my upcoming book. I was hoping that I would be able to show it to you on this particular video. Can't show it to you because it's not back. It's already been sent to the publisher, and it's not ready for the copy that I would get back in order to show to you guys. So as soon as I get it back, which I don't think will be much longer than a week, as soon as I get it back, I'm going to come on and do a special segment just to show you about a book that I am truly excited about. 125 recipes. That's a lot of recipes. This is one that you really need in your collection, because I think all of the old school recipes that I could think of at the time, I put them into this book. So here's what I'm making today: old-fashioned chocolate cake. And as always, thank you for watching Chris Cook For You Too. Bye.